if you look at training, we have a school of government, and there's only one in the country. One would have expected that at this time we should actually have several schools of government in various parts because of devolution, so that these officers actually, officers at the county level, get the appropriate training. We compare county governments with the national government. The national government has been in existence for over 100 years. So the experience that has been gathered, and the number of people who have that experience in national government is huge. County governments have just been here for about 10 years. However much we expect them to gather experience, we need a lot more intensive training for these counties. Another thing that is coming very clear, like in this, they are figuring out the 12 counties because they are small. The size of counties also matter, Mr. Speaker, because personally I believe that the counties we have are too small. And the evidence is that the counties themselves are now coming with regional blocks. They have realized that if we need to be more prospective, be more productive, we need to be larger. They are telling us, so we ask in Naivasha, how did we get to this number 47? Well, I know it may be now very difficult to go back and say, can we go back to the 8 that were originally proposed? So these are issues that actually we must keep looking at. The other issue is that the raising of own revenue. I think we should put an index in this distribution formula that indicates how much own revenue has a county raised. And then we actually reward those who are doing well on raising their own funds. Probably should get more so that there's an incentive. Otherwise, what happens, we don't work on the raising our own revenue. We want to depend to a large extent what comes from this formula. So, Mr. Speaker, I've said before and I say now, we had a committee for the implementation of the Constitution, which was to a large extent legal, which then actually died, which was term was over. Then we came with the transition authority, then we now intergovernmental. This House actually has a committee on implementation of the Constitution. And I think we should regularly be looking at what we need to do. How are the structures? How are the performances? If every time we are having MCAs working very hard to impeach governors, what are the factors behind it? So if the governors are not, if the counties are not performing, what are the factors that are there? And then we can then review the whole issue of county governance with these facts that we have in mind. So I think this is a fairly scientific and very difficult formula they are working on, but it can give a basis for regular review of how devolution is working. With that, Mr. Speaker, I support.
Thank you. The Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu, MP for Kitui Central.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I want to join my colleagues in commenting on this fourth generation formula. And as I do that, I want from the word go to say that if I was able to move the numbers, I would have opposed this formula. But now that we'll not be able to move the numbers, let's go on record on a number of issues. Honorable Speaker, sharing of public resources has never been an easy assignment. In some countries, it actually triggers war. In some countries, it causes serious conflicts because resources generally is what determines how areas or regions are going to develop. Honorable Speaker, I looked at the factors being considered in this fourth generation formula, and I've had the privilege of looking at all the previous three, and now this is the fourth generation. And if you analyze from the first one to the fourth one, they have always been dropping some things and bringing on board new ones. they have been changing the factor, what we call like now the percentages in terms of contribution. And that has had some impact in terms of what goes, how much each county gets. One thing I must appreciate the current formula for, Honorable Speaker, is to ensure that as we move to the future, no county will get less than what they have been getting in the past. That is important. But Honorable Speaker, just taking you back to the history of this country, there was a system paper number 10 of 1965, which was a paper on African socialism and its application to planning in Kenya. What did that paper do? That paper was emphasizing on developing high potential areas in this country. And it means in terms of resource allocation, public resources were pushed to those areas which were seen to be high potential. So from the word go, there was skewness in resource allocation. And as a result of that, Honorable Speaker, you find some regions are marginalized. And that's why we came up with the Equitable Equalization Fund. So what are we saying, Honorable Speaker? We are saying, by design, some parts of this country have remained poor for some time. And that's why poverty rates are very high. So in such a situation, the reason we have been pushing for poverty rates to be high in these terms of percentage is so that we help these areas to come up. But as you can see, Honorable Speaker, if you look at the percentages being allocated to poverty levels, it has kept on reducing every year. And what has happened, Honorable Speaker, is now that we are going back to pushing population to be the leading factor. But Honorable Speaker, through this paper number 10 of 1965, because those areas were developed, what happened? People migrated from marginalized area to high potential areas. So in terms of population, automatically, population of those areas is very high. So what we are going, Honorable Speaker, through this formula, this fourth generation, we actually almost like now coming back to the system of paper number 10 of 1965 in terms of our planning. And that's what to be, I say, when you give population a figure of 45% of the resources, Honorable Speaker, you have been unfair to the rest of the country. Why am I saying that? There are areas like this area where the geographic area is so big that providing services and goods to these areas is a tall order. But now we are downgrading population, geographical area, and upgrading population. So, Honorable Speaker, what will happen with the time is this country, counties which have a big area in terms of a geographical area, will never develop at the same pace with countries which have high population. I'm having in mind, Honorable Speaker, areas like northeastern part of this country, southeastern part of this country, north lift of this country. Those areas will remain always marginalized because we are once more pushing resources to areas where the population is high. So if I had my own way, Honorable Speaker, I would have wanted to see the percentage which is pegged to population being reduced and increasing the percentage in geographical area. The other important area, Honorable Speaker, is if you look at our constitution, it says very clearly that resources should be shared in a way that each county is able to implement the functions of the county. One thing we have not done as a country is we have not costed devolved functions fully. And where we attempted to cost devolved function, that was about 10 years ago. Things have changed. Honorable Speaker, the price of the unit of electricity 2013 is not the same as the price of the unit of electricity today. So we need a situation where we need to sit and say, for counties to be effective in implementation of their functions, how much is required for counties in totality, so that we cost all the functions and say we require 700 billion. Now, on the basis of that, we allocate the 700 billion and then see how to share it. But the Honorable Speaker, as we said, if you look at just the immediate, the third generation formula, issues of health were factored in, issues of agriculture were factored in, issues of roads development were factored in. Now they have all disappeared. Honorable Speaker, you'll be surprised. An area like, take an example of Garissa. If you look at the roads of Garissa in terms of development, they have no roads. They have what we call just parts, being called roads. So at what point shall we develop roads in Garissa, in Mandera, in Kitui, in Makueni, if we don't factor in the level of infrastructural development in our sharing formula? These are the issues, Honorable Speaker. But you realize that because it looks like we are still pushing so hard for where people are, we agree that we continue being left behind. The issue of corruption, we all talk about it here. How do you address corruption when you omit or when you exclude fiscal responsibility as a factor in sharing resources? That you don't care how people use the resources before you give them more resources. I would have wished to see a situation where fiscal responsibility becomes an important factor in sharing resources, so that those who take care of public resources are given more. Those who misapply or misdirect are given less. And then we'll have more people joining the club of those who people use public resources well. But for now, it doesn't matter whether I use well or I don't use well, I'll still get resources based on this formula. So I wish we had a way of opening up this formula and improving the situation. But since you can't raise the two that's Honorable Speaker, we can only say we live with this formula for the next 5 years, and those who are marginalized can continue being marginalized. Those who are developed, let them continue being developed. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Yusuf Mohammed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also add my voice to this revenue allocation bill. Mr. Speaker, as my colleagues have already said, if I was able today to garner the 2/3 majority to reject this bill, I could have done it. But unfortunately, now that I can't do it and it has already gone further, I am just forced to support this bill. However, Mr. Speaker, I must make my reservations for the records. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution has outlined policies and guidelines on how resources are shared between the two levels of government. However, despite well-formulated guidelines, Mr. Speaker, on revenue sharing, there has been a delay of agreeing on the amount to be allocated to the two levels of government because of certain interests. Mr. Speaker, the parameters or the factors used to determine the sharing of the revenue is quite alarming, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when you make one of the factors of revenue allocation to the county government as the population index, which is based on 2019 Kenyan census, this clearly shows you how people don't care about certain parts of this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we all know 2019 census was cooked in the interior office by some crooks who pretended to be the census, those who are doing the census, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, some areas have been deliberately marginalized and their numbers have been tempered and reduced by 3/4, Mr. Speaker. The same parameters has been used to allocate resources to the same counties which were marginalized for decades, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 2019 census is in the corridors of court. The counties, the ASAL counties have went to court to challenge the decision of the Kenya Bureau of Statistics, Kenya Population and Housing Census. And that ruling was kept, that census was set aside, Mr. Speaker. Using nullified census as a parameter to allocate resources to certain counties is not acceptable, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this will take this country or return this country 2 Secessional Paper Number 1 of 1963, which was deliberate attempt to marginalize specific areas to deny them their rightful resources in this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other issue is about geographical size of being a factor, but putting it as 10%, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what are we using these resources?
What is out of order, Honorable Jematia?
Mr. Speaker, I'm standing on the 95. Considering that this formula, and I want to agree with members who have spoken on the floor, that this is a good debate. But considering that we are debating on the formula, and for us to conclude and vote, we need a substantial number in the House. And looking at now the floor, we don't have enough. So either way, I would request the Honorable Speaker that you may call the mover to reply. Thank you. Under Standing Order 95.
The Honorable Jematia, I will seek the decision of the House on the matter you have raised once the member speaking concludes.
Correct. Correct, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for protecting me from Honorable Jematia for cutting me off. Mr. Speaker, I was on the point of geographical size being used. It is good to use the geographical size as a factor. However, capping it to 10% is unacceptable, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what are we going to use this money for? Allocating money to counties. Why are we devolving resources? That is the first question we need to ask ourselves. We are devolving resources to develop each and every village of this country, Mr. Speaker. For a village to have a tarmac road, Mr. Speaker, it needs to have resources, Mr. Speaker. If, Mr. Speaker, you are not considering the length of a road, or if you are not considering the distance of hospitals at the village level, Mr. Speaker, what are you going to use this money for, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, I thought geographical size could have been the number one factor to use to determine the sharing of resources, Mr. Speaker, so that those parts which are not developed are developed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, some parts which are already getting the junk of the money, or this bill is favoring, are already developed from 1963 up to date, Mr. Speaker. They have roads. They have tapped water, Mr. Speaker. They have tarmac roads, Mr. Speaker. They have hospitals, Mr. Speaker. But those areas, Mr. Speaker, that have been marginalized for quite a while, and their geographical size is much bigger, which I believe doesn't even have 1 kilometer of tarmac road, has still been marginalized in this revenue sharing, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as much as I have all those reservations, but still, the amount allocated is better than the years before, Mr. Speaker. Some people are still talking about corruption. Corruption is everywhere, and we are not condoning this country. We must stand as members of parliament for this country. It is upon us and the rest of Kenyans to stop corruption, Mr. Speaker. We will not allow hard-earned money to go into waste, Mr. Speaker. 85% of these resources, Mr. Speaker, is going to the national government. And the same marginalized areas, they are not even getting 1% of the 85% of the money that is left at the national government, Mr. Speaker. How do we make those counties that are marginalized with a bigger geographical area, with their population, census population manipulated by people who wanted to marginalize those areas, to come up at a par with the rest of the counties, Mr. Speaker? With those few remarks, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, honorable members. The Honorable Jematia stood in a place and asked for the decision of the House on whether the mover should be called to reply. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Mover.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank the members for debating this bill in the manner that they have done, and more particularly offering very strong criticism of the bill. Honorable Speaker, this report which I have just tabled is a report which has come from the Senate.
Is that the Honorable Mudhoni wa Muchomba? Asumbi girls is in the house. I want you to sit before they are recognized. And keep order, please. The Honorable Atandi, continue.
Honorable Speaker, some of the issues that have been raised by members include the failure by this report to include physical discipline as a parameter for consideration of revenue sharing among counties. Honorable Speaker, I want to agree with those people who are saying that this is a very, very important parameter that should have been used. But, Honorable Speaker, the argument that was advanced by the Senate when they appeared before us to defend this report is that, Honorable Speaker, there are some governors that are not physically disciplined in the way they are managing their finances. But the Senate felt that denying the people the resources on the account of a poor manager of a governor was not going to be prudent. So, Honorable Speaker, this formula allowed this parameter to be removed from consideration, so that if one governor is not financially disciplined, that should not be used to deny a whole county resources. The other factor that has been raised, Honorable Speaker, was some members who were questioning why only 12 counties were identified and for use in the new formula. The few counties, the 12 counties, Honorable Speaker, are small counties. And that is the reason why this affirmative action has been employed on them. The reason being, Honorable Speaker, that for the two important parameters, population and geographical size, these two parameters give these counties very little resources. That in the end, these counties do not have resources to undertake development programs. That is why they were identified for affirmative action in this new formula, so that they will be able to receive some money extra to allow them to undertake development programs. Honorable Speaker, with those many remarks, I would like to reply. Thank you.
Honorable members, I want to put the question. Before I do, let me once again notify you that the numbers required for you to negative this motion are not existent. So I'll be putting the question, the way your voices go, the ayes will have it. And so I put the question. Honorable members, I put the question that taking into consideration the findings of the Budget and Appropriations Committee in its report on the consideration of the fourth basis for revenue sharing for county governments, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 19th June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 217, Sub-Article 1, and Sub-Article 4 of the Constitution and allocation of the share of national revenue among the counties, this House concurs with the Senate and approves the fourth basis for the annual allocation of the share of national revenue to the county level of government for the financial years 2025-2026 to 2029-2030 without amendments as follows. Roman 1, for the county equitable share below Kenya shillings 415 billion, county allocation equal to, in bracket, baseline allocation ratio times Kenya shillings 387.425 billion plus, in bracket, Kenya shillings 3 billion shared equally among the identified 12 counties plus, in bracket, 0.45 times population index plus, in bracket, 0.35 times equal share index plus, in bracket, 0.12 times poverty index plus, into brackets, 0.08 times geographical size index times, into bracket, county equitable share minus Kenya shillings 390.425 billion. Roman 2, for county equitable share of Kenya shillings 415 billion and above, county allocation shall be equal to, into bracket, baseline allocation ratio times Kenya shillings 387.425 billion plus, into bracket, 4.46 billion shared equally among the identified 12 counties plus, into bracket, 0.45 by population index plus, into bracket, 0.35 by equal share index plus 0.5 by poverty index plus, into bracket, 0.08 by geographical size index times county equitable share minus Kenya shillings 391.89 billion, where Roman 1, baseline allocation ratio is equal to the allocation factor derived from each county's allocation of the financial year 2024-2025. Roman 2, the 12 identified counties are Elgeyo Marakwet, Embu, Isiolo, Kirinyaga, Laikipia, Lamu, Nyamira, Nyandarua, Samburu, Taita Taveta, Tharaka Nithi, and Vihiga. Roman 3, the population index is based on the 2019 Kenya National Population and Housing Census, KPHC. Roman 4, the poverty index is based on the 2022 Kenya Poverty Report by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, KNBS. And Roman 5, geographical size is capped at 10%. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Yeah, next order. But before the next order, let me recognize the following institutions that are visiting the National Assembly, the House of the Parliament of Kenya. We have in the House Good Shepherd Academy from Mwala constituency, Machakos County. And then we have Asumbi Girls from Rangwe constituency, Homa Bay County. Honorable members, Homa Bay County is my county, and Asumbi Girls is the school of my mother. My mother was a pioneer student at Asumbi Girls when it started as a primary school. I therefore, on behalf of the National Assembly, would like to welcome those two institutions to the House of Parliament in their study tour. And on behalf of all of us, I'll allow the minority whip, the minority whip, the Honorable Millie Odhiambo Mabona, good girl, not bad girl today, to welcome both institutions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I'm always a bad girl because good girls don't get the corner office. And the girls who have come before the House must know that for you to make it in life, you have to be a bad girl. But you have to be a bad girl in a good way. You have to be a bad girl by speaking out when there are wrong things going on. You must be a bad girl by saying no to bad things, so people forcing you to do wrong things. Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy to welcome the two schools from Machakos and from Homa Bay County. Mr. Speaker, my two sisters went to school in Asumbi Girls, so I'm very connected and linked to Asumbi Girls. And one of my sisters, who is now working in California, who was also a student there, has also taught in Asumbi Girls. So it's one of our best schools. The girls are doing well, and I just want to indicate, Mr. Speaker, that they are very happy to have women who are examples and they can emulate. In Homa Bay County, the governor, Honorable Gladys Wanga, is a woman. No, she didn't go to Asumbi, but she's the governor and she's a woman. Mr. Speaker, there are a member of parliament who has requested, Mr. Speaker, if she can be allowed, she's been waiting since morning for this school. If she'll be allowed, because she had to run, she's even having a problem with her voice, but she's on her way. So Honorable Lillian Gogo, Honorable Dr. Lillian Gogo, is also a woman. And yours truly, Millie Odhiambo, is also a woman, bad girl. And also the women rep, Honorable Dr. Bensouda, is also a woman. And Honorable Dr. Ivo Barra is also a woman. Mr. Speaker, we have said that people, the men in our constituency, are the ones who will be having problem, because even me, I'm doing my PhD now. So only we will soon just be hearing Peter Kaluma. Martin Awena. But the rest of us will be Honorable Dr. Millie Odhiambo, Honorable Dr. Ivo Barra, Honorable Dr. Lillian Gogo. There she's come, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, we are very happy to see the women, in both from Machakos and here. And we want to tell you how far you go is really up to you. It's not dependent on your circumstances. You can overcome. Welcome to the National Assembly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'll have problems because I don't have doctorate yet. I come from Homa Bay. Now that Honorable Lillian Gogo has arrived, members allow me to allow Honorable Dr. Lillian Gogo to welcome the students from our best school in the country, actually. Honorable Lillian, Dr. Lillian Gogo. Do you have doctorate by any chance? No, you are not recognized. Dr. Lillian Gogo, proceed. It is time for only women with doctorate.
I want to thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Speaker, I must also pronounce myself to the fact that you also are a great grandson of Asumbi National School that is represented here. And the Honorable Jalango is also telling me, Honorable Speaker, that I must indicate that is also associated with Asumbi National School that is here by dint of coming from Homa Bay County. I want to celebrate all our students who have come to visit the National Assembly, and specifically, Honorable Speaker, allow me to celebrate Asumbi National School for what Asumbi is, for exemplary performance in the national exams and extracurricular activities. But I also want to say this on Asumbi National School, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Asumbi National School is one particular
school. The Honorable
school.
Dr. Lillian Gogo will be heard in silence.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, for your protection. Thank you. Thank you. My majority leader, the Honorable Ichungwa, you don't have a PhD, so just sit down. Thank you. Thank you. Asumbi National School, Honorable Speaker, takes care of girls with good brains who are called to other national schools and probably are unable to raise their fare to the various schools across the country. When I approached the principal, the chief principal of Asumbi National School, my dear Lynette Pino Sati, may the Lord bless you, may the Lord bless Asumbi. All our brilliant girls are absorbed in that particular school. So I want to appreciate you. Welcome to the National Assembly. And I know that we have very many leaders seated there, other than being in the echelon of political leadership. I know we have leaders in business seated there. I know we have leaders in medicines and engineering and also in law seated there. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, and I appreciate the time you have given me. I thank you.
What is out of
Asumbi
order, the
karibu.
Honorable Gadoni wa Muchamba?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I raised my hand when my sister and my very good colleague, the Honorable Dr. Lillian Gogo, was submitting. And she alluded to the fact that Honorable Jalango is connected to Asumbi girls as one of those that are associated. I needed a clarification. Is Honorable Jalango an alumni of Asumbi girls? We need to be clarified properly, because we are worried if he's an alumni, then things might change in this afternoon.
The Honorable Dr. Lillian Gogo, what is the relationship between the Honorable Jalango with Asumbi girls, our best girls' school?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I want to thank my sister, the Honorable Dr. Gadoni wa Mushomba. She just wanted me also to acknowledge that she also has a PhD, because the floor this afternoon is for PhDs, and she's literally transformed into orange. Welcome to the party of the people. I want to thank you very much. This is how the Honorable Jalango is related to Asumbi National School. I used some very simple English, and I said that he's related to Asumbi National School by dint of coming from Homa Bay. I think that is the English that she did not get. But the Honorable Jalango comes from Homa Bay County, where Asumbi is located. And Asumbi National School is only 20 kilometers from Homa Bay town. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
At the risk of diluting the doctorate degrees, because we transact the next business, and just on a special request, the Honorable Lillian Rennie, for 1 minute only to welcome all the students, then we go to the next order. The Honorable Irene Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. First of all, there's nothing you're diluting. I am but only doing my second degree. I have the advantage of age, so I'll get there to the PhD like the rest. My second degree is in law. But Honorable Speaker, I want to just do a special welcome to the students who are here, and especially Asumbi girls, and to my niece, who is part of the team, Amara Aluodo, who I have known since she was 7 days old. So because I know she is also wants to come here one day and be a member of parliament, I just want to wish her and all the others the very best. She is now doing her Form 4, about to sit for exams. So all the best to all of them, and we appreciate you girls. And don't worry, we will get there. Doctorates, it's coming.
Yeah, honorable members, you allow the House to debate Asumbi and the schools. I know we will debate up to tomorrow, because there is a way we are connected. We are all connected to Asumbi. I want us, therefore, to transact business. Does Honorable Jalango have PhD? Yeah, then you can proceed for 1 minute only.
Thank you so much. Mr. Speaker, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome all the students, and especially Asumbi girls, from the county where I was born and bred. I went to Lake Primary School, where so many girls from Lake Primary School, Homa Bay, went and joined the Honorable Asumbi girls. Now, this was the school that most girls dreamt to go from the county. And they've continued to excel in the exams and show the same spirit that we had those days. And we hope that they will continue the same. And one message that I want to tell them is that it does not matter where you come from. You know how Homa Bay was then. Honorable Milik can tell you, we grew up in Homa Bay together. And a lady or a girl going to Asumbi girl was a prestigious thing. It is still prestigious and it will always be. Welcome, my girls from Asumbi girls. Karibuni sana to the assembly. Asante.
Well, all visiting schools and students are welcome to the house during their learning tour. Call the next order now.
Order number 12, the Virtual Asset Service Providers Bill, National Assembly Bill number 15 of 2025. Second reading.
Mover.
Honorable Speaker, before I move the bill for second reading is again to take this time also to welcome these great girls to National Assembly and also to inform them as the great county of Nakuru. We are also bestowed and gifted with very many elected women leaders, starting from the Honorable Martha Wangari, the MP for Gilgil, the Honorable Jane Kihara, MP for Naivasha, the Honorable Irene Murembo, the MP for Bahati, the Honorable Charity Kathambi, the MP for Njoro, our Governor Susan Kiheka, our Senator Tabitha Keroche. They call us the county of girls. So it is to show you that women have power and they can fight alongside men and win seats. So even for you, emirate from the great ladies of Homa Bay and the great ladies of Nakuru, and I'm confident that you'll become great leaders in this Republic of Kenya. And to caution our brothers and sisters from Central Kenya, when it is an issue of grammar, we need to be very careful not to pick a fight with our brothers and sisters from the lakeside, because we will lose that fight for sure. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Virtual Assets Providers Bill, National Assembly number 15 of 2025, be now read a second time. Yes, as Honorable Mushomba has witnessed at the floor of this House this afternoon. Honorable Speaker, this bill was published on the 17th of March and given to the Departmental Committee of Finance and National Planning for its consideration. Honorable Speaker, before I get to the nitty-gritties, I want to share with you a few leading quotes from business people across the world. Warren Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, reminds us that virtual assets are reshaping the entire financial landscape, and there is a huge opportunities for interactions. Again, one of the most respected names in this particular space is one David Solomon, who says that cryptocurrencies have defined what it means to store and transfer value. Honorable Speaker, it's important to mention that Kenya is ranked number 3 in Africa on on-chain weighted transaction volume. In the last 1 year, Kenya traded $2 billion in decentralized protocols, liquidity aggregation, and synthetic platforms this year, Honorable Speaker. We have approximately 6.1 million users who use EV capabilities, chain tokens, bridges, wrapped BTCs, gas abstracted stablecoins, and ZK roll-up deployment, Honorable Speaker. We have a potential in this space to generate at least $1 billion in terms of foreign direct investment. With the passage of this law, Honorable Speaker, this law has a potential to create at least 25,000 jobs in Kenya in the next 1 year, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we look forward to this new technology, blockchain technology, tokenization, being used to solve one of the challenges we have in this country, Honorable Speaker, like budgetary allocation, Honorable Speaker. The control of budget estimates that we have approximately 550 billion shillings worth of pending bills. Honorable Speaker, I look forward to when this can be tokenized and we have people across Kenya and globally, Honorable Speaker, contribute to this particular space without having to constrain the exchequer, given the limited physical space we have, Honorable Speaker, on our budget. The question then is, Honorable Speaker, what are we doing as a nation to embrace this novel innovation in finance that the world is already embracing? Well, at the very least, if this House considers and passes this bill, Kenya will now be the 4th country in Africa to do so by maintaining our progressive spirit of building Kenya to be the Silicon Savannah. Honorable Speaker, virtual assets are digital representation of value that are created. Usually by mining, they are traded or transferred in digital sphere, often using the blockchain or other forms of distributed ledger technologies, simply known as DLTs. Their uses are many. They can be used as a medium of exchange, as a unit of account, as a store of value, or even for investment purposes with specific digital ecosystems and across broader financial systems, depending on their structure and application. So, Honorable Speaker, then with the question begs, should we regulate these assets? Honorable Speaker, Kenya has witnessed a remarkable rise in cryptocurrency adoption, with over 10 million citizens now holding one form of a digital asset or another. There's a significant engagement in peer-to-peer cryptocurrency trading, which has earned Kenya a top position in the global ranking for trading volume and leading position in overall cryptocurrency activity, according to China Analysis Global Crypto Adoption Index of 2023. Honorable Speaker, this growth demonstrates a substantial interest in participation in digital assets, especially amongst young Kenyans, those showcasing the sector's potential within the economy. Over the first few years, our traditional financial regulators, particularly the Central Bank, the Capital Markets Authority, have over time adopted a cautious stance towards virtual assets. For instance, in both 2015 and 2022, the Central Bank issued a cautionary notice to financial institutions against engaging with cryptocurrencies, stating that they are not recognized as legal tender. But, Mr. Speaker, here we are realizing that burying our heads in the sand is not tenable anymore. In this regard, the National Treasury now has prepared this bill before us, which was sponsored by the Liberal majority. Honorable Speaker, when I was elected during my first term in 2017 into this Honorable House, in 2018, it was on record, I raised a question to the then Governor of Central Bank of Kenya, asking what measures is Central Bank and National Treasury doing to prepare themselves on this issue of Bitcoins, blockchain technology, and cryptocurrency, Honorable Speaker. The response from the then Central Bank Governor said that cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, digital assets were passing clouds, was a fad that will fade away. I am happy that at Kenya now we have seen it is no longer a fad that's going to fade away. Digital assets, Bitcoins, blockchain technology, cryptos, and all that space, including Ethereum and all, and stable coins and all that space, Honorable Speaker, on digital assets, is no longer a fad that's fading away. The reality is now here with us. The scope of this bill, Honorable Speaker, is designated to regulate all persons or entities who are engaging in offering virtual asset services within or from Kenya. This will apply to companies incorporated under Kenyan law or foreign companies duly recognized under the Companies Act and which are licensed to provide virtual assets as defined in the bill in the first schedule. However, this will deliberately exclude certain categories of digital representation to avoid overregulation or financial or non-financial purely utilized-based digital products. Exempted from this bill and act, if passed by this Honorable House, are digital representations that function solely within a closed ecosystem, such as in-game currencies that cannot be transferred, exchange for fiat money, or traded outside the issuer's platform, as well as central bank-issued digital currencies. Certain non-fungible tokens not used for payment or investment purposes, and other digital representations expressly excluded by the relevant authority, Honorable Speaker. This the bill, Honorable Speaker, carefully defines the scope and ensures that only those virtual asset activities posing financial, consumer, or systematic risks fall under the regulatory oversight. This is done while preserving innovation and limiting unnecessary regulation burden on other digital technologies. This focus, Honorable Speaker, is particularly relevant given past incidences in Kenya, where the lack of regulation in virtual asset space has exposed consumers to harm and loss. To give an example, Honorable Speaker, thousands of Kenyans were affected by the collapse of cryptocurrency platform Bitstream Cycle in 2023. Investors lost millions of shillings from this platform when it was abruptly shut down without warning. Bitstream Cycle had operated without any regulatory oversight, promising high returns through digital currency investments, yet it was neither licensed nor monitored by any Kenyan authority. Such cases highlight the dangers of unregulated virtual assets services and demonstrates the need for clear legal framework like the one the bill is introducing to make sure we safeguard the funds of the members of the public. Any person or entity intending to engage in virtual assets must now formally apply to the relevant authority, either through the Capital Markets Authority, the Central Bank of Kenya, and the new entity this bill is proposing to create, the Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority, Honorable Speaker. This bill will form strong emphasis on the prevention and management of conflict of interest among licensed virtual asset providers, which we call VASPs. Under this bill, VASPs are required to establish and maintain effective internal policies and procedures designed to identify, to mitigate, and manage potential actual conflict of interest that may arise, for example, and are required to report this to the authority and the regulator, Honorable Speaker. Virtual assets, Honorable Speaker, that simultaneously acts as a broker for their client must clearly separate those roles to avoid manipulating trade outcomes on its advantages. And where conflicts are unavoidable, Honorable Speaker, they will be required to report to the authority. This bill is going to impose enforcement action for contravening any of the provisions of this law, including fines, Honorable Speaker, that are clearly defined in the schedules provided, Honorable Speaker, as per our report. This bill is providing a clear mechanism, Honorable Speaker, for appeal. So where you go to apply for a license to the regulator and you're not issued with a license, then this bill provides for not just timelines for when the regulator must respond to you on what documents are required, on whether or not you're going to be issued with a license or not, but also provides timelines, Honorable Speaker, for when they're supposed to issue licenses. This, Honorable Speaker, is meant to cure where this Honorable House has passed laws that would require, for example, particular entities or authorities to license entities, but those entities take years before they are issued with a license, Honorable Speaker. In addition, Honorable Speaker, the bill is also providing for the Cabinet Secretary to issue further regulations. Because from experience, Honorable Speaker, such new entity we may not be able to capture everything that's needed for it in law. And therefore, we are now requiring, Honorable Speaker, within 6 months, that the Cabinet Secretary must issue regulations, Honorable Speaker, to further regulate this particular sector, Honorable Speaker. One of the most significant advantages that we're going to experience with blockchain technology is its decentralized nature. Unlike, Honorable Speaker, traditional financial systems that rely on central authorities, blockchain operates on a distributed ledger maintained by a network of nodes. This decentralization reduces the risk of single points of failure and enhances the security and resilience of financial systems. Kraken, for example, one of the global leaders, has partnered with DeFi Development Corp to tokenize shares on the Solana blockchain, which is demonstrating the potential of decentralized finance to integrate traditional assets in the blockchain ecosystems. Mr. Speaker, I am hoping that this bill will make this reality in Kenya. Blockchain transparency is another critical feature that is that sets it apart from conventional financial systems. Honorable Speaker, every transaction on a blockchain is recorded on a public ledger, which can be audited by anyone. This transparency helps to build trust among users and reduces the potential for fraud and corruption. By tokenizing government securities, platforms like Coinbase can provide real-time visibility into their ownership, the transfer of these assets, and therefore enhance trust and accountability. I hope one day we get to be a country where we can use these particular entities, Honorable Speaker, to safeguard even our public assets. Honorable Speaker, things like the faking and the issuing of duplicate title deeds, Honorable Speaker, can be easily resolved using blockchain technology. where any attempt to change title deed, Honorable Speaker, of any particular property can easily be notified. No, it can easily be detected because it will be impossible to do so using, Honorable Speaker, the blockchain technology that exists. The immutability of blockchain records ensure that once a transaction is recorded, it cannot be altered or deleted. This feature is very crucial in maintaining the integrity of financial records and prevents tampering. Soon, we will need to discuss amending our land network, Honorable Speaker, having our procurement laws and our procurement processes use blockchain technology so that we ensure that the fraud that is used, Honorable Speaker, in our procurement systems is not done. And this is possible using blockchain technology. This legislation is to democratize access to investment opportunities through access to tokenized investment tools. By breaking down assets into smaller, more affordable units, tokenization allows a broader range of investors to participate in markets that are previously inaccessible. Honorable Speaker, for example, for you to own a parcel of land in Kenya, you need to own the whole piece of land. Using tokenization, it will therefore now be possible for Kenyans across the economical, Honorable Speaker, to own part of that property and gain, Honorable Speaker, profit from that particular interest, Honorable Speaker. For now, for you to buy a piece of land, you probably need to buy a 50 by 100 or 1 acre or 1 hectare, whatever it is, Honorable Speaker. But using tokenization, it is possible to have this land being accessible to young people in this country, Honorable Speaker, through those small units and have them get a considerable return, Honorable Speaker, on the investment. The efficiency of this blockchain is another compelling advantage that as a country we should tap to. Traditional financial transactions often involve multiple intermediaries, leading to delays and increased costs. Honorable Speaker, it will be important to remind ourselves how, for example, the blockchain technology and, for example, the Bitcoin was launched. During the financial system breakdown in the US, Honorable Speaker, we had banks in the need to compete to issue mortgages, issued mortgages to almost every American. And consequently, what happened? The cost of those houses, considering the force of demand and supply, the price of those houses fell lower than the mortgage amount that was mortgaged to these particular institutions. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, this led to the collapse of the entire financial system in the United States of America, Honorable Speaker. And this is what now these young people who are accountants, financial analysts, and computer scientists wondered, how can we preserve value for assets without necessarily, Honorable Speaker, having to use intermediaries? This particular technology that we're talking about, this digital assets, Honorable Speaker, is now providing that space where you will no longer need an intermediary, Honorable Speaker, to store value for your asset. And Honorable Speaker is going to reduce all the fraud that occurs in that particular space, Honorable Speaker. This technology will support development for what we call smart contracts, which are self-executing contracts with the terms of the agreement directly written into a code. Smart contracts can automate various financial processes and reduce the need for manual intervention and minimize the risk of human error. As we style ourselves as a Silicon Valley, we need to enable this framework, Honorable Speaker, and this is our opportunity. Honorable Speaker, one of the issues that we see, matters of litigation across the country, is in terms of contracts that are not being honored. Now, using this technology, Honorable Speaker, we can have smart contracts, Honorable Speaker, that get to mature and whatever is supposed to be executed is executed through technology, Honorable Speaker, without having to have any human intervention, and therefore this will even reduce the litigation that goes around in our court system, Honorable Speaker, for unhonored contracts. I don't want to belabor the point anymore, but let me underscore that the potential for innovation in blockchain technology is vast and will create immense opportunities for our economy, including creation of jobs. As the opportunity continues to evolve, new applications and use cases are emerging. For example, the integration of blockchain with other technologies such as artificial intelligence and Internet of Things are creating new opportunities for financial innovation, and as a nation, we should not be left behind. This regulatory framework landscape, Honorable Speaker, for blockchain and virtual assets is evolving. Now, governments and regulatory bodies increasingly recognize the potential use of these technologies. In Africa, as I said, we'll be the 4th nation to pass this law. And I call upon this House to support the bill and the amendments that this committee is going to bring to the House. Honorable Speaker, One Wall's CEO, Jamie Dimon, said that the blockchain is a financial challenge of our time. It is going to change the way our financial world operates. A few years ago, Honorable Speaker, few people sat and discussed the creation of M-Pesa. And the then Vodacom, Honorable Speaker, said, it is impossible. Everyone uses bank, relies on the banking system, and we cannot have money being transferred through phones. Apart from a few people who were in that room, the likes of Michael Joseph and others that improve on that technology said, no, it is possible. A few young Kenyans were tasked to create that platform. And now, much more money is traded, is exchanged on M-Pesa than any other financial system in Kenya. Blockchain technology, virtual assets, is the new M-Pesa. A lot of transactions globally are not now happening through the traditional banking systems. They're not happening through mobile exchanges. They're happening through virtual assets. And I hope and pray that this Honorable House will make Kenya to lead so that we attract FDI for institutions to come up and set up in Kenya and expand to the rest of Africa, making Kenya the Silicon Valley of virtual assets, Honorable Speaker. Let us not be scared of new technologies. Let us not be afraid of these new technologies. Let's embrace them. Let's promote them. Let's support them and make sure that you are not left behind by the rest of the world. With those many remarks, I beg to move and request my senior, the leader of the Majority Party, and the great member for the great people of Kikuyu constituency to second. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Leader of Majority.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to second this virtual assets service providers bill, and has been ably moved by the chair of the Finance and National Planning Committee that considered this bill. Honorable Speaker, as you have said, Kenya is indeed a beacon of innovation and growth in Africa in the sector of financial services. And indeed, as the chair has alluded, M-Pesa is such one example of financial inclusion services in the financial services sector, where Kenya has not just become a beacon of innovation, but became a focus point for the entire world. Even before the Americas, the Silicon Valley, and India and other countries moved into mobile money transfers, Kenya led the way, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, we cannot afford to be left behind in the space of virtual assets, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, it is important, Honorable Speaker, that we have a legal framework that will form the basis of regulation or the regulatory work of the virtual assets themselves, the regulation of virtual assets systems, and also the service providers of virtual assets, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Kenya has witnessed increased adoption and use of virtual assets, particularly in payments and investments over the years. And these assets present very good opportunities to promote digital finance, boost commerce, especially e-commerce, and even create a new class of digital jobs, Honorable Speaker. And our young, innovative young men and women in our universities and those graduating from our middle-level technical colleges and technology colleges have an opportunity to explore the digital jobs that come with this virtual assets, Honorable Speaker. Unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, the benefits of these virtual assets have also been challenged by cybersecurity risks, data privacy risks, fraud, and scams in the country. Honorable Speaker, the best case example is a WorldCoin episode about, was it a year or 2 years ago? And remember, Honorable Speaker, the hula baloo that was there at KICC with WorldCoin and Bitcoin. But Honorable Speaker, those are the challenges that will come with these virtual assets. Questions that touch on not just cybersecurity, but also data privacy. And you remember the challenges then with WorldCoin was on data privacy. And the challenges that were there in where are you taking these data that you're collecting, including the things we're getting from people's eyes. And a lot of private data, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, such issues, challenges with data privacy, cybersecurity risks, fraud, and what are outright scams, because a lot of Kenyans, again, have been scammed, being told we are selling you bitcoins. Some that are just Ponzi games that are sponsored by innovative people in the fraud industry, because also fraud is a very huge industry, Honorable Speaker. And you know, many of those people, including some, Honorable Speaker, who are in our space, who are involved in what has been christened wash. The wash industry, Honorable Speaker, you know, was a very big industry and has been a big industry. And these people are now graduating in the wash business into the virtual assets industry, Honorable Speaker, and scamming very many Kenyans, and especially those who are after a quick shilling or a quick buck get scammed, Honorable Speaker. And it's therefore important that we have a legal and regulatory framework that relates to the use of virtual assets and related activities in the country, so that we stem this fraud, the challenges on data privacy, fraud, and cyber security risks, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in December 2015, the Central Bank of Kenya issued a public notice cautioning the public against virtual currencies such as Bitcoin, citing the risks in operating in an unregulated environment. The notice highlighted concerns around the lack of legal protections, potential misuse of money laundering and terrorism financing, and the speculative nature of these assets due to their lack of any underlying value. Consequently, Honorable Speaker, the Central Bank of Kenya prohibited all financial institutions from engaging in or facilitating virtual currency transactions through CBK's Banking Circular number 14 of 2015. Honorable Speaker, when I speak about the lack of a regulatory and legal framework, these are challenges that we have lived with. That it took the Central Bank of Kenya through that legal notice, their circular number 14 of 2015, to caution financial institutions from engaging in virtual assets, Honorable Speaker. But truth is, we cannot function in isolation of the rest of the world. These virtual assets are today's reality, Honorable Speaker, and as the chair has said in moving, if M-Pesa some years back was the innovation of the time, then these virtual assets today are innovations that we must be able to live with and create a legal and regulatory framework that will now govern how do financial institutions in our country deal with the virtual assets and their transacting virtual assets, Honorable Speaker. As I said, because these assets have no underlying value. It's not like a piece of land or a car that you can send a valuer to value and tell you this asset is valued for this much, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, it leads to a lot of speculative industry or speculative habits, Honorable Speaker, that can quickly move the value of a virtual asset from $1 to thousands of dollars, Honorable Speaker, with nothing underlying. And therefore, if there is no legal and regulatory framework on how even financial institutions will deal with these issues, Honorable Speaker, then we will leave Kenyans exposed. And that is why it has become imperative that we have a regulatory and legal framework that we can use as a country. And it's in this backdrop, Honorable Speaker, that the National Treasury in January of 2025 published the draft national policy on virtual assets and virtual asset service providers. And this policy, Honorable Speaker, lays out a national vision for a secure, inclusive, and innovative digital asset economy. It calls for a coordinated regulatory framework led by the Central Bank of Kenya, the Capital Markets Authority, the Competition Authority, and is grounded on a public-private collaboration, Honorable Speaker, because again, bearing in mind that many of these virtual assets are not assets that are being traded by government or regulated by government in the trade area. But it will call on a multi-pronged approach, Honorable Speaker, where you have the Capital Markets Authority, the Communication Authority, the Competition Authority of Kenya, and also the Capital Markets Authority to have a legal framework and a regulatory one that will then anchor this policy into law. And that is what this bill seeks to do. Therefore, the bill that we have before us, Honorable Speaker, is directly implementing this policy, aiming to bring clarity to operators, protection of consumers, and credibility to Kenya's digital finance ecosystem as I said, to stem the abuse that has been there. Honorable Speaker, I do not want to go into all the details of the bill because the chair has clearly elaborated on what is provided for in this bill, Honorable Speaker. But, Honorable Speaker, allow me to draw members' attention to Part 2 of this bill, which designates the Capital Markets Authority, the Central Bank of Kenya, and any other public body approved by the Cabinet Secretary as the relevant regulatory bodies, which will now be mandated to license the virtual asset service providers and regulate, supervise, and monitor promoters of virtual assets offering those offering virtual assets, Honorable Speaker. Part 3, Honorable Speaker, also creates a system or provides for a system where there will be mandatory licensing of persons and businesses by the relevant regulatory authorities under the Act, whether it is the Central Bank of Kenya, Honorable Speaker, the the Capital Markets Authority, or any other relevant regulatory body that you have to license persons. So that, Honorable Speaker, we stem the culture that has been there. I have seen young people who have just finished college, Honorable Speaker, purporting to sell virtual assets and trade in them. But nobody was regulating them. Those that are doing online marketing of these things, and because they are very tech savvy and very good in digital marketing online, they are able to rope in very many people within a very quick period, collect a lot of money from people, then within a short time, the whole thing collapses, and Kenyans innocently lose their money. And Kenyans have been accusing government, asking government, what have you been doing? Honorable Speaker, this is what government is doing now to make sure that there is a legal framework. You know who ought, if you are trading, for instance, in Forex, because there are many people dealing with Forex trading online and are not licensed by anybody, Honorable Speaker, that you need to be under some regulatory framework. For instance, those trading in Forex are under the regulation of CBK. Those, again, who are dealing with equities, again, they will fall under the Capital Markets Authority or whichever other relevant regulatory body, Honorable Speaker, that will be there. Honorable Speaker, to protect consumers, the bill in Part 4 requires that the virtual asset service providers must maintain adequate safeguards for client assets and obtain appropriate insurance cover. This will ensure that in the event of fraud or operational failure, consumers can receive compensation. And additionally, Honorable Speaker, the virtual asset service providers must also maintain a bank account in Kenya, enabling effective monitoring and oversight. Honorable Speaker, many of the challenges that Kenyans have encountered is, as I said, because of their lack of a regulatory framework, it was not clear whether if you send somebody money to purchase a virtual asset, is there a way that in case you wanted to get back your money, you can get it back? And before this bill or before this policy was enacted, there wasn't a framework, Honorable Speaker. And this is what this Part 4 of the bill seeks to do. First, to ensure that there are adequate safeguards. Just like in the insurance industry, Honorable Speaker, there is a premium holders compensation fund that is a safeguard for premium insurance premium holders, that in case that insurance company collapses, you have a fallback plan. Banks in this country, Honorable Speaker, again, the chair will tell you, under the central depository system, what do you call it? It is called the Deposit Protection Fund. What was the previously called the Depositors Protection Fund? That if you're carrying on the work of banking in this country, you needed to, those banks, you need to have some security, either an insurance bond or a cash guarantee in another financial institution to secure people's deposits, Honorable Speaker. But with these virtual assets, we have operated in a space where nobody could guarantee you that if there are liabilities that occur, you have some fallback plan. Part 4 of this bill is doing that to ensure that either you have an appropriate insurance cover or there's some fallback mechanism, Honorable Speaker. And that's why it's important, as has been put in that part, Honorable Speaker, that we also have these virtual asset service providers, they must maintain a bank account in Kenya that will enable effective monitoring and oversight by the Central Bank of Kenya. Because again, people have been sending money to bank accounts outside this country. And there is no guarantee that you are protected if you are trading and doing business with people outside the country. But now with this particular provision under Part 4, that you have to maintain a bank account locally, then it becomes very easy for the central bank to be able to monitor what is going on and protect those who are investing in these virtual assets, Honorable Speaker. Finally, Part 5, Honorable Speaker, of the bill speaks to regulatory authorities being empowered to vet shareholders and senior officers of virtual asset service providers. They are also empowered to conduct on-site and off-site inspections and enforce the anti-money laundering and financing of terrorism laws. Because, Honorable Speaker, again, you have seen, as I said, every Tom, Dick, and Harry walks into the economy or into Kenya, opens some office somewhere at a street corner, collects money from people, and disappears, and nobody vets who are the shareholders or who are the owners of this virtual asset service providers. It will now be a requirement that the regulatory authorities that license you to offer virtual assets service, to become a virtual asset service provider, they must vet you to ensure that they know who the shareholders are. They must know who the senior officers in that company are. They must conduct on-site and off-site inspections to ensure also that we stem, because, Honorable Speaker, just like all the other financial assets, this is one area that could be largely abused by those who are financing terrorism, people who are engaging in money laundering, and therefore it must be the responsibility of the regulatory authorities to ensure that they vet to ensure that both the senior officers and the shareholders are not people who are involved in money laundering, in terrorism financing, or any other such related crimes. Can I say a second?
Yes. Give him the mic.
Honorable Speaker, I was saying to ensure that anybody who is involved in that trade is not involved in terrorism financing or money laundering, Honorable Speaker, under the Money Laundering and Anti-Terrorism Financing Act. And with that, Honorable Speaker, I support and I beg to second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that the Virtual Asset Service Providers Bill, National Assembly Bill number 15 of 2025 be read a second time. The Honorable Naisula.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this very important bill, the Virtual Asset Services Providers Bill 2025.